It's still a mystery as to why, but it's over. Angel Reese is back with her LSU team and available for game day. She's been practicing, according to head coach Kim Mulkey, and can play in the Tigers' top 10 matchup tomorrow against Virginia Tech. Reese was benched mid-November and hasn't played since. LSU went 4-0 without the Baltimore native in the lineup. This Sunday, Talia Tungavailoa will find out Maryland's bowl game matchup, the quarterback's final game with the Terps. The all-time Big Ten leader for passing yards has been named second team all-conference today. Leah leads just about every major category for Big Ten quarterbacks, but the better edge, vote-wise, went to J.J. McCarthy at Michigan. For the fourth consecutive season, UMBC volleyball is NCAA tournament bound. On Friday, the 17-7 America East champions go to Pittsburgh for the first round against 8-seed USC. Not easy for the Retrievers hunting their first NCAA tournament win, but they're ready for the new season and tournament excitement.
Obviously, this is the biggest game of the season. It's like the first round, but we're preparing for it like any other team, like in terms of like game plans, how we're going to focus on practice and kind of things like that. Not to get too overwhelmed, but to still focus like on the teams.
This is something that not a lot of people get to experience, and I just couldn't be more excited.
Coppin State is also heading to the NCAA tournament. The Eagles making their first appearance after winning the MEAC. Coppin's round one matchup will be tough against host and 1-seed Pitt, also on Friday. If both UMBC and Coppin State can pull off historic program upsets on Friday, they would advance and meet each other Saturday in the second round.
All right, let's take a look at that weekend forecast in detail. If you're thinking of decorating the house, perhaps, I think Friday for getaways or just sticking around here at home, I think by the afternoon there could be some scattered showers. Saturday's going to be that day outside to get those lights up, temperatures in the 50s. And then look what happens here on Sunday. Some showers around, especially early in the day and maybe again late toward and just after sunset. Temperatures over the weekend looking great for that Christmas decorating forecast, mid to upper 50s to almost 60 degrees.
Jonathan, thank you. Coming up on Fox 45 News at 6 o'clock tonight, a 40-year resident of Baltimore County carjacked at gunpoint. Why she says crime might push her out of her home. And police say a repeat offender is only 12 years old. Why some say the state's juvenile justice laws are to blame.
Fox 45 News hearing from the victim of violent carjacking, what she wants law enforcement to know. One repeat offender, just 12 years old, is now at the center of the debate over the state's juvenile justice laws, his mother's plea for help, and why law enforcement says their hands are tied. The fight for fair wages hitting a roadblock tonight, while the debate over minimum wage for tipped restaurant workers might be delayed until next year.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 6.
And I saw a pistol in his hand. And I said, and he said, give me your keys, give me your keys. And I'm like, and the next thing I know, he hit me in the head and I went down.
A 72-year-old woman who lives at the Baltimore County, Baltimore City line, describing the moment she says two armed teens carjacked her outside of her home. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mary Bubala. Donna Talent, a resident of Baltimore County for more than 40 years, seen there with the black eye, says she suffered a concussion and spent 2 days in the hospital after she was the victim of a violent armed carjacking. Despite her injuries, Talent says it was important for her to share her story with Police Commissioner, City State's Attorney, also Baltimore County Police during a town hall last night. Talent says she had just restarted her car after helping her wheelchair-bound husband into the house when the two teens pointed a gun at her, demanded her keys, and then pistol whipped her before driving off in her car.
I'm just very upset, very furious, you know, and seriously thinking about moving out of the neighborhood. I don't want to do it. Been here 43 years. I love my house. I love my neighbors. I have great neighbors all around me. Both sides, in the back, we know everybody. I apologize. We know everybody, you know, and we take care of one another.
Talent says police later recovered the car, which was heavily damaged, and took the two teens into custody. Because the teens, ages 15 and 16, are juveniles, Talent doesn't know if they were held accountable. Talent is just one of many victims of the juvenile crime crisis throughout our state. Critics say the state's juvenile justice laws allow many young residents to be set free and offend again. In a story you'll see first on Fox, Mackenzie Frost takes a look at one of those cases.
The 12-year-old involved in that assault seen on the surveillance video is a familiar face to law enforcement. We've confirmed that he's also the same kid we reported on back in the summer in connection to a string of car thefts in Baltimore County. This video capturing the moment when a woman near Patterson Park was assaulted by two kids, a 14-year-old and a 12-year-old. That 12-year-old is the same kid who we aren't naming because of his age that had a busy summer stealing cars. From Essex to Dundalk, even touching Baltimore City. He was 11 at the time, and he was picked up by Baltimore County Police at least 13 times for stealing cars from the end of May to August. Fox 45 News obtaining these police reports, providing some insight into the string of car thefts, stealing Kias and Hyundais, sometimes crashing them, each time released to his family. The woman getting attacked, speaking to Fox 45 News about that incident.
He tackled me and then punched me in the head, and I got kicked. I was afraid I was going to get shot.
Frustrated, since she says the 12 and 14-year-olds were arrested and brought to the Juvenile Justice Center in Baltimore, but released hours later.
I'm pissed off at the law. This should never, and what if this could have ended really badly?
Those laws at the center of recent juvenile crime debates, especially the law preventing kids 13 and younger from facing charges for nonviolent misdemeanors, like stealing cars.
There's a lack of accountability.
Dr. Yalda Safai is a psychiatrist, and she says juveniles need structure and accountability. Without clear consequences, she says they will likely to continue to push boundaries.
You get a thrill out of doing something illegal or wrong. If you get away with it, you're going to want to chase that thrill again. So, and next time you're going to want a bigger thrill.
And in this case, this 12-year-old was stealing cars only to be sent home, seemingly escalating to now robberies and assaults. His family isn't speaking publicly, but the mom of the 14-year-old involved in this video is, and she's pleading for help.
I know he can do better. They just need that support. I mean, something's got to give, because like I said, the way he going, he not going to be here.
Victims and parents aren't the only ones frustrated with the juvenile justice laws.
And they're doing it time after time after time again.
City State's Attorney Ivan Bates argues the plans may have been well-intentioned, but the reality is different.
If you have 11 or 12 contacts with the criminal justice system for the same exact offense, you're competent enough to steal a car, but you're not competent enough to understand who the judge is, who the prosecutor is, or who your defense attorney is. We got to get real and realize we have to hold young people accountable.
How lawmakers decide to handle the growing pressure to make changes remains a question that will likely only be answered in January, when the next 90-day session begins. In the meantime, a third juvenile crime hearing is scheduled to take place in a House committee next Tuesday in Annapolis. In the newsroom, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Mackenzie, thank you. Well, yesterday, Fox 45 News pressed Governor Wes Moore on the youth crime crisis, failures in the Department of Juvenile Services, and what his plans are to address the growing number of repeat youth offenders. Despite the issues we're seeing in Baltimore with the same kids committing crimes despite multiple arrests, he praised Department of Juvenile Services head Vincent Schiraldi, calling him a reformer.
We're very clear on the challenges that DJS has had and that have been long-standing. We're clear that when we came into office, we walked into a DJS that was understaffed and underfunded. And it's the reason why I appointed a true reformer.
Well, after that vote of confidence, Fox 45 News is looking into Vincent Schiraldi's record for more on what the governor's comments could mean for the future of Maryland's juvenile justice laws. Governor Moore has called Schiraldi a national leader in criminal juvenile justice and mass incarceration reform. Schiraldi has long endorsed efforts to reduce the footprint of community corrections and eliminate youth prisons. He has even written that criminals should not be exposed to the adult prison system until they turn 25 years old.
You can't tell me that somebody who rapes or murders somebody who's 15 or 16 years old should get a free pass the next 8 years. There are some crimes that are so horrific, you have to be tried as an adult. Otherwise, you're saying in a society, there are no consequences for any of your actions.
Before coming to Maryland, Schiraldi served 7 months as director of New York City's Corrections Department. He was fired after pressing to shut down Rikers Island, the city's preeminent adult prison. Well, a new wrinkle tonight in the fight over wages for Baltimore City's tipped restaurant workers, as it appears that pay debate might not get underway until early next year. Fox 45's Amy Simpson has the latest on the wage battle.
There was supposed to be a rally here at City Hall 1 week from tonight, but that rally looking to drum up support to raise restaurant wages has been pushed back. Just last week, a standing invitation seen online. Bill introduction for one fair wage in Baltimore. A rally scheduled for December 6th at City Hall, inviting people to join efforts to raise the hourly tipped wage to the state's minimum wage.
There's supposedly going to be a bill introduction on the 6th, but it hasn't been finalized yet.
But now that same link is broken. This event is no longer available, the page reads. Today, One Fair Wage telling Fox 45 News its Baltimore City rally is postponed until January. December is such a busy month for our restaurant worker members. The group's president said in an email.
We need to raise the wage so that people can actually afford to work in this industry.
Yet while a rally is still in the works for early next year, so far no details from inside City Hall on when legislation will be introduced or what the bill might say. Right now, Maryland's tipped wage sits at $3.63 an hour, supplemented by tips from customers. Some servers and bartenders fearing tips will be less fruitful if hourly wages are increased. The Restaurant Association of Maryland firmly against efforts to change the status quo.
They're looking to keep the current tipping system in place. The reason being, they earn significantly more than minimum wage.
Earlier this fall, similar fights over tipped wages unfolded in both Montgomery and Prince George's counties. Groups on both sides of the debate clashing at this press conference in October. Restaurant workers chanting, "Save our tips," as One Fair Wage, the same national special interest group soon bringing its mission to Baltimore, wore matching pink shirts. Legislative efforts to raise restaurant pay in both of those D.C. suburbs so far unsuccessful. And tonight, no details on when in January that rally is expected to happen. At City Hall, Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Populist, controversial politicians are seeing shocking success overseas. So what does that mean for American politics and the race for the White House in 2024?
And hour by hour, our forecast. Chilly overnight, but not as cold. 20s to near 30 degrees under some clearing skies. I'm going to let you know how much warmer it's going to be tomorrow, and you're going to feel the difference. It's in my Weather Authority forecast.
We have breaking news out of the Middle East. Mediators are working to negotiate a further extension of the truce between Israel and Hamas, with the deal set to expire early Thursday morning. According to the Israeli military, Hamas released a group of 10 Israeli hostages and 4 Thai nationals. Earlier, 2 Russian Israeli women were freed by Hamas in a separate release. Israel is expected to release 30 Palestinian prisoners in return. International pressure is mounting to pause the fighting as long as possible after nearly 8 weeks of Israeli bombardment and a ground campaign in Gaza, which has killed roughly 15,000 Palestinian civilians. Along with the hostage and prisoner releases, the truce has allowed much needed aid to get into Gaza. The clock is ticking to extend the truce further. Israel has said it will extend the truce an additional day for every 10 hostages released, but talks have grown tougher as most of the women and children held by Hamas are now freed. And Hamas militants are expected to seek greater releases in return for freeing men and soldiers. This is a developing situation. Stay with Fox 45 News on air and online for the latest. Mary?
Kai, thank you. From Italy to the Netherlands, Brazil to Argentina, there is a notable rise on the far right. These are political candidates and parties that embrace populism and nationalism, even though critics call them extremists. Sinclair's chief political correspondent Scott Thuman joins us live to explain why this is happening and how it plays into America's race for the White House. Scott?
Yeah, Mary, this isn't something terribly new. We've covered this, as you know, personally in places from the Netherlands to Germany to Brazil and seen similar campaigns and wins as a result. Now it's something that also may be foretelling as to what's going to happen here in the United States as we watch 2024 play out. Vowing to fix a slumping economy and make Argentina great again, Javier Milei won over disgruntled voters and went from TV commentator to president-elect. Ben ik te verstaan? And in the Netherlands, Geert Wilders, fiercely anti-immigrant, anti-Muslim, tough border messaging, positioned himself to become the next Dutch prime minister. So is the rise of the far right catching fire?
I think his electoral victory is a massive game changer.
The pushback against poor economics and mass migration has become a hallmark to populist candidates and may be gaining steam, even if the candidates are labeled extreme or even dangerous. USA! USA! The comparisons to American politics hard to miss.
And I think what happened with Trump was the world was watching and thought, if America, right, this bastion of democracy and freedom, isn't going to tamp down on this guy, well, who is?
That Trump parallel, something we asked the Dutch populist Geert Wilders about 6 years ago when his stock really began to rise. People have called you the Dutch Donald Trump. What do you make of that?
Well, I'm the Dutch Geert Wilders. I'm no Donald Trump, but there might be similarities between the movement.
Trump hoping that same sentiment puts him back in the White House, and it seems to be working at the moment. Trump with an eye-popping 50-point lead over his closest Republican rivals. And back overseas in France, the far-right party that is often headlined by Marine Le Pen, who's controversial as well, is right now outpolling the current President Macron's party as they head into next year's national elections. Not the presidential ones, but nonetheless important. Mary?
We'll keep our eye on that. Thank you, Scott Thuman, reporting from D.C. for us tonight.
All right, the Fox Triplecast this evening showing us the Mile 1 Towsicam and the beautiful Toyota HD Inner Harbor Skycam. Taking a look there at the lit-up National Aquarium. Very nice in some of those bluish lights. The HD radar showing us some clear skies overhead, and on the HD radar as well, there's some snow showers to the north. That's actually kind of part and parcel of a weather maker that's moving to our north, although we're just going to get, again, a couple of clouds out of it like we're seeing right now. No rain, no snow, but warmer air is coming with that before The next weather maker moves in end of the week, and that's when we could see some rain. 37 now here at, Baltimore's BWI Airport officially made it down to 23 this morning and only 40 this afternoon, which is the coldest that we've seen, or at least coldest day that we've seen since back on February 25th. Winds out of the south-southeast at 3 miles an hour. That's a change. Southerly winds are warmer for us, and that will leave our temperatures buoyed a little bit overnight. Wind chill in the mid-30s. Temperatures starting off in the 30s to around 40 late this afternoon and into this evening. So we will have some room to fall. Probably going to drop down into the mid-20s to near 30 instead of the low to mid-20s like we woke up to this morning. But we are 6 degrees warmer than 24 hours ago here in Baltimore, 8 degrees up at Hagerstown. We're up to almost 20 degrees warmer than just a day ago at the same time out toward Deep Creek Lake, Oakland, Maryland. And you see signs of that warmer air, lots of 50s, 60s out to our west, and we're going to be approaching those types of temperatures over the next several days, 50s and maybe even near 60 degrees as we head towards the weekend. Again, HD radar showing some snow showers, flurries to our north. Really, that's kind of the only game in town. That's some warmer air, no longer the lake effect activity that we were dealing with that put down 1 to 2 feet of snow across portions of New York State. Now, it's with this warm front way up in Canada. Behind that, warmer air coming in, winds switching to out of the south. And we're also going to enjoy some dry skies. Whether tomorrow temperatures in the 50s. Can't say the same, though, into Friday as the next weather maker does move in. There are some showers with it. At least we'll be on the warmer side of this one. It's not going to be snow or anything like that. But there could be some potential wet roadways as you're trying to get home Friday afternoon. So let's plan things out hour by hour. Overnight into early tomorrow morning, you see a lot more 20s to near 30 instead of the teens and 20s like we woke up to this morning. And then for tomorrow, some patchy clouds. We'll see a mix of clouds and sun as high temperatures make it well up into the low to mid 50s. That's a lot more typical for this time of year. And then as we work into Friday, notice the extra clouds stay with us. And although the temperatures, again, are milder at about 50 to 55, we also run the risk of a few showers as you're heading home on the PM commute. I'll let you know how long those last into your weekend and how things look all the way well into next week. My exclusive 10-day forecast after the break.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Parts of New York State are still digging out from the first big lake effect snowstorms of the season. Rochester seen here wasn't hit too hard, but some areas near Buffalo and down to Syracuse picked up over a foot in heavy squalls. Here's a picture of thick rime ice that formed on a mountain in Tennessee when many fog droplets froze onto the trees. And the growing season has ended in a lot of the southeast with the first killing frost and freeze of the season.
For more content like this, follow the National Weather Desk on Instagram.
The abortion debate heading to the state Supreme Court in Texas, what advocates on both sides are now saying about some of the strictest abortion laws in the nation. The argument over the strict abortion law in Texas goes before the state Supreme Court. This week, justices heard oral arguments in the case. Melanie Torrey from our Sinclair sister station in Austin, Texas, was there.
The plaintiffs in this case have long said they're just asking for one thing: clarification on when an abortion can be performed due to a medical emergency. The women in this case say their lives were left in jeopardy with their doctors' hands tied, but the state argues the law is clear enough.
I think people have no right to judge what other people are going through until they've been through that situation themselves.
Taylor Edwards is one of 20 women suing the state of Texas. After years of IVF treatment, Edwards became pregnant, but later learned her child wouldn't survive even if she made it to birth. Growing increasingly ill, Edwards traveled to another state for an abortion.
I want people to understand that they have no clue what they would do if they were faced with these situations that me and my fellow plaintiffs have been faced with. Until you're sitting there being told your child's not going to live, you don't know. You just don't know.
Earlier this year, a district judge outlined when abortions should be allowed to protect the life of the mother. The attorneys for the state of Texas argued the district judge overstepped because they believe the law is already clear enough. Instead, the state suggested some of the women should be suing their doctors.
She is standing here alongside me. She's a fabulous doctor.